Part 1, the torn veil and the bridge of light. Imagine for a moment that you are standing at the crossroads of two worlds. One world you call reality, where everything seems solid, logical, and bound by rules you once believed could never be changed, and another world where light does not only shine but sings, where thoughts carry weight, and where dreams are not illusions, but the blueprint of what becomes real. In the first world, you learned to live by the rules written by others. They taught you to believe in chance and luck and the limitations of the body. They told you everything that happens is nothing more than probability, that you are a speck of dust drifting in a cold, indifferent universe. Yet a small sound, soft and persistent, began to knock on the door of your soul, asking, what if none of this is the whole truth? There is an ancient knowledge once burned, hidden, and labeled, dangerous not because it harms, but because it frees. When people understand the real power of their minds, they can no longer be controlled. They become creators. And that has always frightened every form of external authority in every era. This forbidden knowledge is not magic, but the simplest truth. The universe is mind. All matter, all events, all people are shapes consciousness chooses to wear. You are not just the observer of the world, you are the projector casting it outward. Now imagine you are stepping onto a bridge made not of stone but of light. That light rises from your own awareness, warm, gentle, and quiet. Every step you take is a decision to stay inside the illusion or to walk toward the truth. On the other side, there are no limits, no impossibilities, only the clear understanding that you and the universe have never been separate. Some words do not arrive to inform, but to transform. When you hear them, you do not simply understand, you remember, because this wisdom does not come from outside. It is the echo of something you once knew before forgetting. And if you are hearing these lines now, it is not coincidence. Synchronicity brought you here. A door has opened. From this moment, the definition of reality will begin to dissolve. What once felt solid will become fluid, and you will look at the world with different eyes. Take a slow breath in, gently, and as you exhale, let the veil of illusion fall away. Step across the bridge of light, because on the other side begins the first chapter of freedom. Part 2, the prison of perception and the five senses as a survival interface. From the moment you opened your eyes to this world, you were taught that the five senses are the only doorway to truth. Your eyes see the wall, your ears hear the wind, your hands touch the table, and your mind concludes that it is solid. You call this reality. Yet what if these senses are not windows but curtains? What if they do not show the world as it is, but only a simplified version designed just enough for you to survive? Think of a dog that hears frequencies your ears call silence. A bee sees ultraviolet light that your eyes are completely blind to. A snake senses the heat of its prey glowing in darkness. Each creature lives in its own universe, shaped by the limits of its sensory organs. And among countless worlds, you still believe yours is the only real one. Science, in its microscopic journey, has brushed against the border of the miraculous. If you look at your hand through a microscope, your skin becomes a desert of living cells. Look deeper, you see molecules then, atoms, and between them a vast emptiness. If an atom were the size of a stadium, its nucleus would be a grain of sand at the center, while everything else is empty space. Yet you still feel solidity when you touch something. The truth is, nothing ever touches anything. It is only energy fields pushing against each other, creating the illusion of contact. The world you see is not matter, it is energy patterns, frequencies, and waves. Matter is only energy slowed down enough for your senses to register. You are living inside an interface, just like a phone screen showing simple icons, while the real system behind it remains invisible. What we call reality is merely the version your five senses can agree upon, but in truth it is only a tiny summary of the infinite. You are looking at the universe through a narrow slit and believing you have seen the entire sky. Here is where the wonder begins. When you realize you are not locked inside the prison of perception, you open a different door, where consciousness is no longer confined to the body. You begin to understand there is something stronger than light, deeper than sound, more subtle than touch. It is the awareness behind all perception, the part of you that does not just observe the world, but shapes it. Now I want to ask you, and take a few seconds to truly listen to yourself, how many times have your senses deceived you? And if they have deceived you before, can you still claim that this reality is the only one? Your answer, whether spoken or silent, is the first step toward opening that hidden door. Part 3, the gentle collapse of matter and how observation shapes reality. There comes a moment on the path of awakening when you realize the solid world around you is not truly solid. The walls, your body, the table beneath your hands, all those firm shapes are only temporary expressions of something invisible energy. And that energy is listening to a silent commander, your consciousness. Begin with a simple experiment in your mind. Imagine holding a small stone. It feels heavy, cool, clearly shaped. You believe it exists independently of you. But if you shrink your perspective down to the atomic scale, the stone becomes a swarm of vibrating particles, trillions of tiny points pulsing in empty space, appearing, disappearing, reappearing again millions of times every second. And between those pulses, there is nothing, only the possibility of existence. What turns possibility into reality is your observation. This is not a metaphor. In the laboratory, when physicists watched an electron pass through two slits, they discovered something unbelievable. Without an observer, the electron did not travel along a fixed path. It spread out as a wave present everywhere at once. But when a device was placed to observe it, the wave collapsed instantly, choosing one location. From infinite to specific, from everywhere to one point. What created that difference was not the equipment, but consciousness. The moment there is attention, energy takes form. It is as if the universe waits for your gaze to know what it should become. This is where theology and physics meet. The teaching that light comes from the word and the principle that the observer collapses the quantum wave both speak of the creative power of consciousness. When you observe, you are not simply seeing, you are commanding. You are telling the universe, be this, and energy obeys. It contracts into a shape that matches the frequency you emit. If you hold fear, you shrink the world into the pattern of fear. If you hold love, you open a dimension where everything softens and becomes abundant. Imagine life as a movie projected on a screen. You sit there thinking you are just the audience. What you do not realize is that you are the projector. The images do not come from an external reel. They come from the light within you. When you change the quality of that inner light, the movie changes. If you project an old film of resentment, you will see familiar scenes of pain. But when you replace that light with gratitude, even the same scenes begin to look different, illuminated with compassion and meaning. When you understand this, you stop viewing life as something that happens to you. You become a co-creator. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And begin asking, what is this trying to teach me? What part of me is ready to awaken? This is the shift from victim to architect. And here lies a beautiful paradox. Matter does not collapse with a sound, but with the quietness of awareness. When you change your perspective, the old world dissolves without struggle. A door opens, and what once seemed rigid reveals itself as mist. You realize everything is waiting to be redefined by your consciousness. A man named Michael once said he felt unlucky for years. Everything failed at the last moment. When he learned about the observer effect, he tried something simple. Each morning before checking his phone, he closed his eyes and whispered, "Today my world reflects trust." He did not hope, he declared. After a few weeks, small things began to shift. A colleague who was often harsh suddenly became gentle. Plans started moving smoothly. Michael realized the world did not change because he begged for it. It changed because he looked at it with a different consciousness. The collapse of matter is not loss, but return to essence. When the wall dissolves, you do not fall into nothingness. You open into a universe that is alive, flexible, intelligent. And from that moment, everything you say, think, and feel becomes intentional because you know you are shaping the script. Pause for a moment. Feel your breath. Feel the room around you. Everything appears still, but all of it is moving, each atom, each vibration, waiting for the command of your awareness. If you truly understand that the world appears only when you look at it, you will begin to look with love instead of judgment, with curiosity instead of fear. And when you do, reality responds. It shifts, softens, reshapes, not because the world has changed, but because you have. Now let me ask you something, not to test you, but to awaken you. When you look at your life, do you see proof of limitation or signals of potential? If you dare to change the way you observe, you will see everything around you waiting to be reborn through your gaze. If you feel this truth, leave a single line in the comments, I am ready to change. Because the moment you say that, you send your first command to the universe, and from that moment every particle around you begins to rearrange itself to reflect the consciousness of someone new, someone who knows that with a single look they can shape the entire world. The unified ocean, frequency, connection, and potential asterisk. Asterisk, imagine standing before a vast ocean at dawn. Mist floats above the surface. The first light slides gently across the water, and everything is so quiet you can hear your heartbeat. Every ripple spreads outward, merging with every other ripple without a beginning or an end. Now, let me tell you something that might make you shiver. The universe is exactly like that ocean, a sea of energy, a field of infinite consciousness where everything is connected and you are one of its waves. The wise ones of the past called it the mind of God. Modern physicists call it the unified quantum field. Mystics call it the source. But the name does not matter. Its nature is one. Everything is vibration. Nothing is truly separate. Every form you see is only a different octave of the same infinite field. The wall, the blade of grass, the distant star, and you, all of them are notes in an endless symphony. If you could silence the noise of the senses for just a moment, you would feel it, a soft current moving through your whole body as if the air were breathing with you. Every thought you think and every emotion you hold creates ripples in that ocean. And because all ripples spread, each inner state you generate affects the whole. When you are afraid, you do not shrink alone, you stir waves of unease around you. When you are calm, you send quiet signals into all of life. Here is the truth accepted by both science and spirituality. Nothing is truly separate. Light from the Andromeda galaxy, millions of years away, still touches your eyes each night. The breath you inhale contains molecules once held in the lungs of countless beings before you. Every atom in your body was once part of the sea, the mountains, or a cloud in an ancient morning. You have never been an outsider to the universe. You are its continuation. Someone once asked a teacher, "Where must I go to find God?" The teacher smiled, "Find a place where God is absent, then come back and tell me." That is the answer of the unified ocean. Every possibility of your life, health, love, abundance, freedom, already exists in that ocean as different frequencies. They are not outside you, they are waiting for you to tune in. When you shift your inner frequency through thought, emotion, and belief, you change the channel of reality. Like a radio, if you are tuned to the station of worry, you cannot hear the music of peace. Not because peace does not exist, but because you are not aligned. The world does not respond to what you want, it responds to your frequency. When you think I am lacking, you are broadcasting a signal of scarcity, and the ocean echoes back countless proofs of lack. But when you feel I am abundant, the ocean reflects that abundance through people, opportunities, and coincidences. The universe does not lie, it simply mirrors the vibration you send. Think of a moment when you felt lucky. Life flowed, people were kind, opportunities opened easily. Was that random, or was that the moment you were broadcasting harmony and the ocean responded? A small story, a woman named Sarah in New York lived in exhaustion and worry. Each morning she woke thinking this day will be bad. After learning about the ocean of frequency, she tried an experiment. Each morning before getting out of bed, she placed her hand on her chest and said, "Today I choose to broadcast peace. Nothing more." 1 week later, the co-worker who stressed her the most suddenly took leave. A chaotic project was replaced with a gentle assignment. Sarah did not manipulate the world, she simply tuned her frequency. The ocean responded instantly. Energy has no concept of time. The ocean does not need you to wait. It only needs you to align. When you enter stillness and send out the vibration of trust, you are saying, "I remember that I am part of the source." And the ocean whispers back, "Yes, you are mine and I am yours." When you understand that everything is connected, you stop asking, "How do I escape pain?" and begin asking, "What does this pain want me to remember?" You no longer try to run from the darkness because you know the darkness is simply another wave of the same ocean. When you send love to the part of you that hurts you, dissolve the rigid wave of resistance and let it return to the gentle flow of the whole. Life becomes a dialogue between you and the ocean. Every feeling is a sentence. Every synchronicity, every meaningful coincidence is a reply. When you learn to listen, you realize the universe has never been silent. You were only too loud to hear. Try this today. Close your eyes for a few seconds and imagine your breath not just entering your lungs, but dissolving into the space around you. Feel that you are not breathing air, you are breathing the universe. And as you exhale, you return your energy to the whole. In that moment, you understand there has never been a boundary between you and the world. Now, before we close this section, let me ask you something simple but profound. If each of your emotions creates waves in the ocean of all life, which frequency will you choose to send today? Think for a moment. And when you are ready, write a single word in the comments, asterisk, asterisk, harmony, asterisk, asterisk. Because when you do, you are not answering me. You are sending a signal to the ocean declaring that you remember you have never been separate from the source. The human transmitter and receiver, the inner signal that shapes the outer world. Asterisk, asterisk. If the universe is a unified ocean, then human beings are transmitters and receivers within that living sea. You do not simply exist inside the universe, you are communicating with it at every moment, through each thought, each feeling, each breath. No one lives in the universe. We broadcast with the universe. And the difference between a conscious life and a default life is simple. One knows they are transmitting, the other believes they are only listening. From childhood, you were taught that your five senses help you receive information. The eyes see, the ears hear, the skin feels, but no one told you that behind these senses lies a deeper layer where you not only receive, you also transmit. Every thought you hold and every emotion you carry is a wave of energy radiating into the unified field. And through the law of resonance, that ocean sends back the matching melody. Imagine yourself as a radio. The world does not broadcast a special program for you. You tune the dial from within. When you vibrate with fear, you catch the station of fear, difficult news, negative people, and repeating events that drain you. When you shift into peace, you attract people, chances, and feelings that match peace. Not because you begged for it, but because you adjusted your signal. This is not just a metaphor. Science shows that every cell in the body emits electromagnetic signals. Your heart generates a field thousands of times stronger than the brain. When you feel love, gratitude, or trust, your heart sends out clear and harmonious waves. When you are anxious or resentful, the wave becomes chaotic. And the ocean around you, where everything is vibration, simply mirrors the strongest signal you are sending. Think of it as an echo chamber. Whatever song you sing, the universe sings back to you, only louder. When you say, I never have enough, the ocean hears, I desire the experience of lack, and begins arranging events for you to feel it. When you say, I am open to receive, the waves shift and bring coincidences, helpers, and open doors. The frightening part is not that the world cannot hear you, but that it hears you too clearly. Most people transmit unconsciously. They say they want happiness, but send out fear of loss. They pray for abundance, but broadcast lack. And the ocean reflects honestly. That is why the first step of awakening is to pause and listen to your own signal. The first practice is the observation of emotion. Several times a day, stop and ask, what am I feeling now? No judgment and no analysis, simply notice. When you can observe a feeling without merging with it, you separate yourself from the signal. You become the engineer at the control panel instead of the puppet pulled by noise. That single moment of awareness already changes your frequency, because you cannot be the sound and the listener at the same time. The second practice is the body frequency audit. The body speaks truth more clearly than the mind. When the mind says, I am fine, but your chest feels tight and your stomach clenches, the inner signal is distorted. Place your hand on that area, breathe slowly, and whisper, I hear you. In that moment of kind attention, the trapped energy softens and the signal resets. No therapy is more powerful than gentle awareness. A man named David once came to me with tired eyes. He said, "I try to be positive, but everything still goes wrong. I think positive, but the results are negative." I told him, "Stop thinking positive, feel positive." After weeks of emotional observation, he discovered that beneath the strong affirmations of "I am fine" lived a trembling whisper, "I am scared." When he acknowledged and embraced the fear, his signal shifted. Work opportunities returned. Relationships softened. Not because he learned new skills, but because he transmitted a true frequency instead of pretending. The universe does not respond to words, it responds to authentic vibration. You cannot fool the ocean. It feels your frequency more clearly than you do. If you want to change the world around you, begin with your inner music. When you change the melody inside, the scenery outside rearranges itself. When the musician changes the tune, the entire orchestra follows because they play within one shared field. From now on, treat each emotion as a piece of music. Ask yourself, do I want to hear this again? If not, choose a different note. No force is needed. Just stillness, breath, and a new tone, the tone of gratitude, trust, or compassion. One changed breath, and the whole symphony shifts. The universe is a mirror. It does not judge, and it does not choose sides. It reflects your signal. If you want the world to smile, you smile first. If you want life to soften, you send out softness. Everything begins and ends within you. Try a small act right now. Pause, close your eyes for 5 seconds. Feel your body. Ask, what am I broadcasting to the universe? Do not rush the answer. Let the body speak. When you open your eyes, leave a comment with one sentence, "I hear myself." The moment you hear your inner music, you stop being a puppet of old frequencies. You become the conductor of your own life. And from now on, you will see that the universe is not a fixed story, but an orchestra waiting for your direction. When you change the rhythm of your heart, the sky changes tempo. When you change the melody of your thoughts, the people around you begin to sing along. Life is not happening to you. Life is happening for you. Part 6, the double scheme, the outer power, and the inner ego. For countless ages, there has been a simple truth hidden at all costs, that human beings are creative forces, not victims of circumstances. Knowledge, religions, and power systems throughout history have feared this truth because the moment a person realizes they are the master of their own consciousness, every external form of control collapses. Through thousands of years, a double scheme has been formed, one from the outside world and one from within, designed to make you forget your true nature. Look back at history. Ever since humans learned to record their thoughts, people have tried to define God, define the soul, and define truth. Every era had a group who claimed to hold the key to salvation. They insisted that to approach God, you must go through them, that to live correctly, you must obey them, and if not, you would be condemned. Instead of seeking within, people began to seek power outside themselves. Thousands of years ago, when the fire of Alexandria rose, not only ancient scrolls were burned, but also a way of understanding reality was destroyed, a way that saw knowledge, art, science, and spirituality as different paths leading to unity. From that moment, humanity entered an age of fragmentation, science against religion, reason against emotion, matter separated from spirit. People forgot that everything was once one, but the scheme does not belong only to those in power. It goes deeper into every individual. The ego, a silent ruler born from fear and surviving by making you believe you are separated from the whole. It whispers that I am different from them. I must take, protect, prove, and compare. When you believe it, you lock yourself inside a mental prison. The ego is clever and wears many masks. Sometimes it speaks as a victim, saying, I am pitiful and life is unfair. Sometimes it speaks as the arrogant one, saying, I am special and better than others. No matter the form, its purpose remains the same, to maintain the illusion of separation. Because as long as separation exists, the ego survives. Have you ever wondered why fear spreads more easily than love? Because fear is the language of the ego. It convinces you that the world is dangerous and you must control everything to survive. When you are afraid, your energy contracts and you unconsciously search for an outer force to protect you. That is when the shepherds appear, institutions and doctrines promising safety if you obey. The world has operated this way for millennia, yet true power has never been outside. It lives in your consciousness. When you believe someone else can save you, you hand over your creative energy. When you think only others can make you happy, you deny your inner light. This belief in powerlessness is the strongest chain ever created. The ego has an even subtler tool, reason. Reason is not bad, but when it becomes the master instead of the servant, it builds a wall between you and your intuition. It tells you that only what can be measured is real. It mocks your instincts and rejects wonder. It makes you worship evidence instead of direct experience. But what evidence can prove the very observer? If you only trust what the senses confirm, you forget that your senses are the first filter of illusion. And so the double scheme becomes complete. The outer world tells you that you are small and need guidance. The inner ego tells you that you are separate and must compete. These two forces cooperate and nurture a weakened consciousness, a slave consciousness. A person with slave consciousness does not need chains. They imprison themselves with fear and habit. Freedom does not come by fighting, but by seeing clearly. When you understand the mechanism, it loses its power. When you realize that every form of control depends on the fear within you, you begin to reclaim your strength. And when you listen to another voice, the voice of the observing consciousness, the ego weakens. The ancients said that one who knows who they are has nothing to prove. When you live from that level of awareness, no one can control you. You still read the news, you still work and learn, but you are no longer pulled into the game of power. You see the structure of the world without being hypnotized by it. I once met a woman named Helen who lived in constant fear of losing her job and disappointing her boss. She worked twice as hard seeking approval, yet the more she did, the more exhausted she became. One day, after reading about creative consciousness, she sat down and asked herself, "Why am I afraid?" A quiet answer rose, "Because I think my value comes from others." She cried, and in that moment the first chain broke. When she stopped seeking validation outside, everything shifted. Work became lighter, and strangely her boss praised her calmness and creativity. You see, no one imprisons you except your own beliefs. When you change your beliefs, the prison disappears. The double scheme only exists as long as you forget that you are a creative source of energy. So look into the mirror and ask what belief is making me small. Every honest answer is another wall collapsing. Remember, you do not need to rebel, you only need to be awake. A conscious person cannot be controlled because they see the hand behind the curtain. When you live with awareness, external power loses its foundation. And now, before we move to the next part of the journey, take a moment, close your eyes, and ask yourself, which voice am I hearing? The voice of fear or the voice of freedom? The answer will not come through words, but through the feeling in your chest. If it brings lightness, then you have reclaimed a part of your inner sovereignty. Part 7, Breaking the Victim Loop, Choosing the Creative Identity. After seeing the double scheme of the outer world and the inner ego, you begin to understand why most people keep repeating the same painful story. They do not realize they rewrite the same page every day with the same ink made of fear, judgment, and helplessness. This is the victim loop, an invisible prison where a person is both prisoner and guard. The only key to escape is not held by anyone else, but by you, who has the power to choose your identity again. Look around at life. How many people begin their story with the words, "if only"? If only I was born in a better family, if only I had not made that mistake, if only someone helped me. These if only thoughts are the chains of a victim. They make people believe that their lives are controlled by things outside their reach. The truth is, no circumstance defines you, only your response does. A person living in the victim identity believes they are the result of the world. They let their environment, others, and old memories write their story for them. In contrast, a person living in the creative identity understands that the world is a mirror reflecting the frequency they emit. If the mirror reflects sadness, they do not break the mirror, they change their own expression. The victim identity has a subtle structure. On the surface, it suffers, but on a deeper level, it is addicted to that suffering. Because being a victim brings a sweet reward called attention. Others pity and comfort them, and they feel seen. But this visibility is temporary. It reinforces the belief that they are weak and need saving, and so they continue acting out that role. The world around them, like an honest stage, brings more actors into the script. The betrayer, the abandoner, the failed situation, so they can keep being right. If you want to break this loop, you must dare to leave the old stage. You must stand up, drop the role of the pitiful one, and choose the role of the creator. This does not mean denying your pain. Instead, you look directly at it without blaming anyone. When you take responsibility for every experience, not to punish yourself, but to reclaim your power, the victim loop begins to dissolve. There was a man named Mark who always found himself in relationships where he was betrayed. He believed he was unlucky. One day after meditation, he realized something painful. He was not afraid of betrayal, but of being forgotten. So unconsciously, he kept attracting people who made him prove his worth. When he understood this, he blamed no one. He simply said, "I choose to love without needing to prove anything." 3 months later, he met his partner, and that relationship became peaceful in a way he once thought impossible. The key is responsibility, but understand its true meaning. Responsibility is not blaming yourself. It is recognizing that you always have a choice. The moment you say, "I am responsible for this experience," you are also saying, "I have the power to change it." The word responsibility comes from responsibility, the ability to respond. It means you are not forced to react. You can choose your response. Try this small practice. When something upsets you, do not ask, "Why me?" Ask, "What frequency did I emit that brought this into my field?" This question takes you out of the victim role and back into the creator position. The creative identity does not need to prove anything. It simply chooses. Every morning when you open your eyes, you can choose the music you will play today. You can choose your emotions, your thoughts, and your approach. When you choose differently, reality shifts accordingly. This is the real magic, not from external rituals, but from inner awareness. But do not mistake the creative identity for an escape from difficulty. A creator does not deny darkness. They use it as material to fuel their light. They do not say, "I never have problems." They say, "Every problem is an opportunity to remember my strength." When they fall, they do not ask, "Why did I fall?" They ask, "What is this teaching me about myself?" If you truly want to step out of the victim role, do this now. Write down a single affirmation, not for the world, but for yourself. "I am no longer the result of the past. I am the cause of the future." And to deepen this commitment, comment under the video with only one line, "I am ready to change," or simply the number 1 as a signal to the universe that you are ready to take back your pen and write the next chapter. From this moment, whenever you face difficulty, remember that you do not need to find someone to blame. You only need to remember who is creating the experience. Every emotion and thought is a brush stroke on the canvas of your life. If the painting is not beautiful, do not cry, just change the color. Ask yourself, if I am truly the creator, what do I want my life to look like? Then stay quiet and listen to the answer rising from deep within your chest, where the ego no longer speaks and only clarity remains. When you begin living from that level, you no longer fear the past or beg the future. You understand that everything appearing is a reflection of you in this moment, and in this moment you can choose again. Today, right now, stand up, take a deep breath, and gently say, "I am the creator." Say it for yourself, not as a slogan, but as a truth. When you declare it with full belief, the victim loop breaks forever. Part 8. The primordial law of the universe is mind-thought, is subtle matter. Imagine that tonight you dream a vivid dream, so real that you cannot tell where the dream ends and reality begins. In that dream, you walk down an unfamiliar street, touch moss-covered walls, hear the rain falling, and feel the cold cutting through your clothes. You meet people, talk, laugh, and even cry. In that moment, everything feels real. But when you wake up, you realize that every image, sound, and sensation was created inside your mind. No brick existed, no raindrop fell. It was your consciousness experiencing itself. Now expand that idea. What if the entire universe is also a dream? Not your private dream, but the dream of a vast consciousness of the creator of the source, or simply the universal mind. You and I and every form of life are different thoughts within the same mind expressing itself in countless forms. This is the primordial law known by ancient sages of Egypt, Greece, India, and echoed by modern scientists. The universe is mind. When Max Planck, the father of quantum theory, said, "I regard consciousness as fundamental and matter as derivative of consciousness," he was not meditating. He was speaking at a scientific conference. The deeper someone dives into the material world, the more they find that at its core is not matter but thought. If you understand this, you will see that everything you call physical reality is thought that has become dense. Thought is not invisible. It is a finer form of matter. When you repeat a thought, you feed it energy and make it condense into form. Just like vapor becomes water and then ice, every layer of matter is simply a slower vibration of mental energy. What does this mean? It means the world around you does not happen to you. It is projected by you. When you believe life is hard, you create circumstances that reflect that belief. When you believe you are supported, the universe aligns people, opportunities, and synchronicities to confirm that you are right. Not because the universe wants to please you, but because it is you. Picture your mind as a projector and the world as the screen. Every thought and belief is a film placed into the projector. Change the film and the image changes. Yet most people keep adjusting the screen, trying to change others, jobs, or situations, while forgetting the film inside the projector. They want a comedy, but keep the tragic film running and then feel disappointed when the screen refuses to smile. The primordial law teaches that all causes are within the mind and all results appear in the outer world. The outside is only a reflection of the inside. So changing your life does not begin with action, but with perception. When perception shifts, action naturally shifts, and the world responds. How do you practice this? First, observe the way you think. Most of your thoughts are not you thinking. They are thoughts thinking themselves. Repeated mental habits, old lines of dialogue you unconsciously replay. Every time you repeat a thought, you strengthen its energetic pathway. That is why the first step is to become aware of the content of your thoughts instead of believing them. When you notice a negative thought, do not fight it. Simply smile and say, "This is just a thought, not me." In that moment, you separate from the old film. When you become the observer, you are no longer controlled by the mind's content. That is the first taste of freedom. The second step is intentional focus. If the universe is mind, then focus is the art of creation. Energy follows attention. What you focus on expands. Focus on the problem, and the problem grows. Focus on the solution, and the solution appears. Focus on gratitude and reasons to be grateful. Multiply. This is not blind belief, but the natural mechanism of consciousness. The third step is emotionalizing thought. A dry thought has little power to shape reality. But when infused with emotions such as joy, gratitude, or trust, it becomes a strong signal sent into the field of consciousness. Every time you pair a clear thought with a positive feeling, you are planting a new seed in the garden of the mind, and that seed will eventually manifest in the physical world. I remember a woman named Emma who lived in Chicago. She struggled with the belief that she was unworthy of success. She worked hard, but her results always collapsed at the last minute. One day she read a line by Emmet Fox: "If you want to change conditions, change the way you think about them." She began visualizing every morning, seeing herself stepping outside with trust, seeing people cooperate, seeing her project succeed. She did not pray. She simply felt as if it was already true. 3 months later, she received the biggest collaboration offer of her career. Emma did not create a miracle. She aligned her thoughts with the reality she desired. The primordial law does not promise a life without challenges, but it guarantees that you will understand the meaning of every challenge. When you meet resistance, it is not an enemy. It is a mirror reflecting an old thought. You do not need to fight it. Just change the thought, and the wall dissolves like smoke. If you truly want to test this, do a simple experiment. For the next 7 days each morning, say quietly, "Today I observe my thoughts because I know they create my world." Then watch what happens. You may notice a phrase someone says, an unexpected opportunity, or a gentle feeling inside. These are signs that the universe is whispering, "I hear you." Because in the end, you are not the universe's dream, you are the universe dreaming itself. Everything you think is outside is a part of your mind projected so you can recognize yourself in countless forms. Now let me ask you, if thought is truly subtle matter, would you still dare to think small about yourself? Take a few silent seconds, and if you feel ready to step into that level of awareness, write one line in the comments: "I choose my thoughts." The moment you say it, you are no longer controlled by the mind. You become the conscious creator, the co-author with the universe in the unfolding story called your life. Part 9, the vibrational key. The heart is the amplifier. If the universe is mind, then the language it understands is not words, but vibration. Every thought, no matter how strong, will fade like smoke if it carries no emotion. But when thought merges with emotion, it becomes a real energetic signal that moves into the unified field of consciousness. In that field, your heart is the strongest instrument, the central amplifier of the soul. Scientists at the HeartMath Institute have shown that the heart generates an electromagnetic field up to 5,000 times stronger than the brain. This field surrounds the body, extends several meters outward, and directly influences the environment. When you are angry, your heartbeat becomes chaotic and your signal turns distorted. When you are peaceful, grateful, or loving, your heartbeat becomes coherent, creating smooth, round waves that affect everything near you. Others can feel it, even if nothing is said. Your heart is communicating with the world through the oldest language, frequency. Yet most people are disconnected from the rhythm of their heart. They live in their head, constantly thinking, calculating, comparing, and judging. They make decisions from fear, not from feeling. When the mind overshadows the heart, the signal you send becomes scrambled like a song out of tune. The universe does not hear what you say. It hears the melody you vibrate. Someone may stand before a mirror and say, "I am abundant, I am successful." But if their chest is filled with anxiety and doubt, the real signal they send is, "I am lacking, I am afraid." The energy field only responds to the strongest frequency, which is emotion. You never receive what you think, you receive what you feel most deeply. This is the key. The heart is the bridge between thought and reality. Your thoughts are the blueprint, and your emotions are the construction energy. If you think without feeling, the blueprint stays on paper. But when you feel trust, gratitude, or love, you energize the blueprint, and the universe begins to build it. Imagine an architect named David. Each morning he envisions his building, calculates every detail, but for years it stays only on the drawing. One day he looks at the design and whispers, "I love this creation. I feel it already exists." From that moment he works with a strange excitement. Soon after his project is chosen for development, he said it was not the drawing that changed, it was his frequency. The heart is the finest translator between soul and matter. It understands every language without words or logic. When you place your hand on your chest, breathe deeply, and truly feel peace, you are sending a clear command to the universe. This is the music I choose. And because the universe only reflects truthfully, it plays back the same melody. Think of the moments you felt genuine gratitude. Everything seemed to flow better. People became friendlier, work went smoother, and even sunlight felt warmer. The world did not change. Your frequency aligned with the flow. The secret is not forcing yourself to feel positive. You cannot fake love or gratitude. The heart knows instantly. Instead, return to honesty. If you are sad, breathe with that sadness. When you face it with compassion, your frequency rises naturally because truth always vibrates higher than pretense. Let me guide you through a small practice. Sit still with eyes closed. Place your hand on your heart. Inhale slowly and deeply. As you exhale, imagine a warm light expanding from your heart through your whole body. Then think of a moment that made you grateful, no matter how small: a smile, morning light, a song, or simply the fact that you are here breathing. Feel that moment as if it is happening now. Hold the feeling for at least 1 minute. You have just reset your entire vibrational field. Do this several times a day. Each time you return to your heart, you amplify your creative energy. Gradually, you will notice small synchronicities appear, invitations, moments of support opportunities, or a gentle calm rising in the middle of chaos. These are signs that the universe has tuned into your frequency. Once you understand how to use your heart, you no longer worry about the law of attraction or secrets of success. You realize that success does not come from thinking harder, but from vibrating deeper. Now let me ask you, not as a lesson, but as a quiet reminder. If you could choose only one emotion to carry with you today, one emotion you know the universe will multiply 100-fold, what would you choose? Pause, breathe deeply, and let the answer rest in your heart. When you know it, write it down in the comments. Just one word. Trust, peace, love, gratitude, or whatever feels most true. The moment you write it, you imprint that signal into the energy field, and the universe begins to sing in the vibration you chose. From today, remember, your heart is not merely a pump, it is the amplifier of the soul. It sends out melodies that shape reality. When you learn to play music with your heart, the world will dance to its rhythm. Part 10. The inner eye imagination is the design studio. Close your eyes for a moment. In that darkness, you can still see, not with your physical eyes, but with the inner eye, where all creation truly begins. The world you live in today, every road, every house, every bridge, even the artificial stars orbiting above all, once existed as images in someone's mind. Before any physical reality, there is always a mental blueprint, and the tool that shapes that blueprint is imagination. Yet we were taught to treat imagination as childish or unrealistic. Since childhood, you heard, "Stop dreaming, be realistic." So instead of using imagination to create, you use it to fear. You imagine things going wrong, you imagine failure, you imagine loss, and the universe, honest like a mirror, reflects those images back into your life. But if you understand the real power of imagination, you will use it like an artist uses a brush for the soul. Everything you see in the material world once appeared first in someone's mind. Leonardo da Vinci drew designs of helicopters centuries before science could build them. Edison saw the light bulb glowing in his mind long before it lit a dark room. And you carry the same creative energy. Imagination is not fantasy. It is a spiritual reality waiting for a name. When you envision something with real emotion, you open a pathway between the unseen and the physical. Neuroscientists have found that when an athlete imagines training, the brain activates the same regions as if the body were actually moving. This means your brain does not need physical proof. It only needs vivid imagination. Imagination is the design studio of the soul. In that place, you are the architect, the painter, and the director of the entire movie of your life. Each morning, when you open your eyes, you step into the film you have been writing. And each night, you return to that studio where everything is tested, reshaped, and created again. Remember, every great creation begins with a clear image. If you cannot picture what you want, the universe cannot understand your signal. But when the image becomes sharp and your emotions flow into it, your imagination becomes a vibrational blueprint, a command sent into the ocean of consciousness. Now try a small exercise. Think of something you deeply desire, not a passing wish, but something that makes your heart glow. It could be health, love, financial freedom, or peace. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and see it as if it exists now. Not imagining that you will have it, but experiencing it as already yours. Engage all senses. What do you see? What do you hear? What sense around you? What emotion rises in your chest? The more vivid, the more real. That emotion is the glue connecting the image to the universe. If the image is the blueprint, emotion is the current that brings it to life. When you feel as if the dream is already real, you emit the frequency of already having it. And the universe, which always reflects truth, responds with circumstances matching the frequency of completion. Many people make a mistake when practicing this. They imagine the process instead of the result. They imagine searching, applying, trying, and the universe keeps them in that endless process. The secret is to imagine the perfect ending where what you desire is already true. You do not need to know how the universe will handle the how. Your task is to hold the final picture firmly. Neville Goddard once said, "Live in the state of the wish fulfilled." You do not imagine walking toward your dream, you imagine living inside it. When you do this, the people, situations, and opportunities align themselves naturally. I once knew a woman named Laura. She worked a job she did not love and felt stuck. One day she read a line that said, "Imagine as if your desire is already real." That night she saw herself entering a new office filled with light-smelling morning coffee, hearing cheerful greetings. Every night she replayed that scene before sleeping. 6 weeks later, her company reorganized, and she was invited to join the creative department, the very room she had imagined. She said, "I did not attract that job. I became it first." This is the power of disciplined imagination. Not wandering dreams, but images guided by feeling and trust. Remember, imagination is the staircase between heaven and earth. Every image you nurture with true emotion will eventually step out into the world. If you stay long enough with that vision, not only your dream changes, you yourself are reborn. Before ending this chapter, ask yourself, if everything I imagine with love can become real, what would I dare to dream for myself? Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and when the answer appears, write a short line in the comments, "I am designing." The moment you say it, the universe understands that the architect of the soul has begun drawing a new structure, the structure of your life. Part 11, the power of words, the I am command, and the cleanliness of speech. Imagine the first moment of the universe. There was nothing but silence. Then a sound arose, not thunder, but the word. And that word opened light, shaped the world, and called the unseen into the seen. From the beginning until now, every creation begins with a spoken word. When you understand this, you realize that words do not only describe reality, they create reality. In daily life, you speak thousands of sentences without noticing that each one is an energetic command. When you say, "I am tired," you command your body to feel tired. When you say, "I can never do it," you program your subconscious to believe in limits. When you say, "I am guided," or "I am becoming stronger," you send instructions of renewal to your nervous system and to the vibration around you. The most powerful words ever spoken are two simple words: I am. Not I will be, not I want to be, but I am. When you say I am, you are not speaking about the future. You are defining your present. You declare your identity in the universe, and the universe has only one response: to reflect back exactly what you declare. Emmet Fox wrote, "Your word is the law of your being. Your words become the laws your life follows. If you speak with faith, your words are seeds of creation. If you speak with fear, your words become a self-made curse." No sentence is harmless. Every sentence creates waves in the field of energy you live in. The first step of an awakened person is the cleanliness of speech. Listen to yourself for one day. How many times do you say, "I cannot, I hate, I fear, I am tired"? Each phrase is a stone thrown into the lake of consciousness, creating wide ripples. When you replace them with, "I am learning, I am peaceful, I am stronger," the surface of the mind becomes calm and clear. Remember, thought creates the pattern, and words activate the pattern into form. When you speak, vibration moves from your chest through your throat, the meeting point of heart and mind, and spreads into the space around you. That is why sages said, "One who speaks from the heart makes the universe listen." Now try this simple practice. Place your hand on your chest, breathe deeply, and say slowly, "I am light." Feel the word light spreading like dawn. Then say, "I am peace." Notice your breath soften and your heartbeat steady. Finally say, "I am that I am," nothing more. This is the affirmation of your divine identity. You do not need to prove it or compare it. You simply are. Words can heal or harm, build or destroy. Whenever you speak about someone, you plant a seed in your own inner garden. Judging closes your heart. Blessing opens it. Just as a mirror reflects your face, the universe reflects the words you speak most often. A theologian once said, Every sentence you speak is a prayer. If your prayer is complaining, you are praying for more suffering. If your prayer is gratitude, you are calling blessings. Nothing you say is just for fun, because energy does not understand jokes. Try changing the way you speak. When someone asks how you are, do not answer just okay. Say, I am peaceful. When work is hard, do not say, I'm exhausted. Say, I'm learning to trust. When something goes wrong, do not say, I am unlucky. Say, I am being guided to the lesson I need. These statements are not forced positivity, they are choosing a higher vibration. Above all, practice the I am command every day. In the morning, before touching your phone, stand in front of the mirror, look into your eyes and say slowly, I am awake, I am guided, I am loved, I am enough. Say it with awareness and feel each word as a gentle current through your heart. When you do this often, every cell begins to listen. Your body responds. Your circumstances respond. The world responds, because the universe is an energy field that hears your voice. From today, speak like a prophet, not like someone ruled by fate. Let your words be seeds of light, not seeds of fear. Every time you open your mouth, remember you are summoning your future. Before ending this chapter, let me ask you one thing. Have you ever realized that every I am you say is writing your destiny? If today you want to claim that power again, write only 2 words in the comments, I am. Let the universe hear you and answer with the very miracle you forgot you already possessed. Part 12. The grateful heart, the frequency that attracts blessings. If you ask me what the strongest vibration in the universe is, I would not say love, but gratitude. Love is the river, gratitude is the current that carries it to the ocean. When your heart is grateful, you rise into the highest frequency where every door opens. You no longer try to attract anything, you simply feel, and the universe arranges itself. Remember, gratitude is not a reaction, it is a cause. Most people feel grateful after receiving something, but awakened ones receive because they were grateful first. Gratitude is a signal you send into the universal field announcing that you are ready for goodness, and the universe responds in the same frequency. Science has shown that gratitude changes the chemistry of the body. When you feel deep gratitude, your heart produces coherent rhythms. Serotonin rises, your immune system strengthens, and the brain emits alpha waves, the waves of clarity and peace. Gratitude is not only spiritual, it is the biology of miracles. True gratitude cannot be forced. It must be recognized. When you notice the smallest things, a breath, a breeze, morning light, or a stranger's smile, you see that nothing is ordinary. Every moment is a gift. Many people ask, what should I be grateful for when life is a mess? The answer is, be grateful for the ability to feel gratitude. Start small. A glass of clean water, a breath, the fact that you can still listen and learn. Gratitude is a seed, and once you plant it, it grows into a tree of blessings, even in the driest soil. There was a man named Daniel. After an accident, he could not walk for nearly a year. Each morning, instead of complaining, he looked out the window and said, "Thank you for letting me see the light today." A year later, he recovered almost miraculously. When asked for his secret, he said, "I did not heal with medicine. I healed with gratitude." His eyes held a light no medicine could create. Gratitude has 3 levels. The first is gratitude after receiving, which most people know. The second is gratitude before receiving, which is trust. The highest is gratitude during difficulty, which is wisdom. At the first level, you react to life. At the highest, you create life. Imagine facing a challenge, and instead of saying, "Why me?" you say, "Thank you for this chance to become stronger." In that instant, you stop being a victim and become an alchemist, turning lead into gold. Gratitude is a compass for energy. When you are grateful, you tell the universe, "I am in the frequency of receiving." Happiness does not create gratitude. Gratitude creates happiness. You do not wait for reasons to be grateful. When you are grateful, the reasons appear. Try this simple exercise. Close your eyes and place your hand on your chest. Breathe slowly. Recall one thing, no matter how small, that made you grateful today. A voice you heard, the smell of morning coffee, or simply the fact that you are alive. Let the warmth fill your chest, and softly say thank you. No one needs to hear, only the universe, because it always listens. Do this each night. Before sleeping, write down 3 things you are grateful for. They do not need to be big. I am grateful that I still have a chance to change. I am grateful for a stranger's smile. I am grateful that I am learning patience. After a week, your heart will begin to change. Life feels lighter. Everything seems to support you, because it always has. You simply were not tuned in before. When you truly live in gratitude, you see that nothing is random. Everything is an answer to your vibration. You thank first, the universe responds later. You plant gratitude, the universe sends miracles. Let me ask you something, not to test you, but to awaken you. If tomorrow you only woke up with what you were grateful for tonight, what would remain? This question is not to create fear, but to remind you that everything you have, from breath to loved ones, is a gift never guaranteed. If you feel gratitude rising in your heart, write 1 line in the comments. Thank you for being alive. Or simply, thank you. The moment you say it, you send a signal to the universe and to your own heart that you have returned to the source. When your heart is grateful, you do not need to beg for blessings. You simply smile, because you are already living inside them. Part 13, Decoding Adversity, Turning Darkness into Light. Anyone who walks the path of awakening must face one thing: darkness. You cannot avoid it, because darkness is not the enemy. It is the forgotten, sacred part of you waiting to be seen, understood, and transformed. Every hardship you meet does not come to destroy you. It comes to awaken the light you have not yet realized you carry. Many people believe that when they practice, when they pray, when they raise their vibration, life should become more light. But the universe does not work that way. Light cannot shine without first passing through the night. A seed cannot sprout unless it is buried in the earth. Your soul is the same. It must pass through darkness to discover its true light. Why does adversity come? It comes to break what is false. When you think you are strong, life sends a challenge to let you prove it. When you say you trust, life will give you a situation where everything seems against you. So you see that trust is not words, but living energy. When you claim to love, the universe gives you a chance to forgive. Anyone who steps into light must pass through darkness first. Moses wandered in the desert. The Buddha faced Mara under the Bodhi tree. Jesus stood in the lonely night of Gethsemane. And you, listening to these words, also have your own desert. But remember, darkness is not fighting you. It is teaching you how to see with different eyes. When the outer light goes out, you begin to see the inner light. That is the moment you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? I remember a woman named Evelyn. She lost everything in a fire, her home, her job, even the dog she loved. In despair, she sat among the ashes and said, I have nothing left. Then a voice within whispered, you still have one thing, yourself. From that moment, she began rewriting her life. She learned meditation, began writing, and after a few years became an inspiration to thousands. She said, the fire did not destroy me. It burned away what I no longer needed. This is the nature of adversity. It is purifying fire, not punishing fire. It burns away old layers and reveals the true soul. When you look at it with understanding, you no longer fear darkness, because, darkness is simply light in a form you have not recognized yet. When you meet difficulty, instead of resisting, pause and observe. Ask, what is the lesson here? Which part of me is ready to be healed? Perhaps adversity comes to teach you to let go of control, learn trust, or remember that love never disappears. If you are in a dark season, listen carefully. No night lasts forever. Dawn always waits, but it does not come from outside. It rises from within you. When you change the way you see, darkness stops being an enemy and becomes a teacher. There is a universal law. Where there is shadow, there is light. You only need to shift your perspective, and what looked like the ending becomes the doorway to a beginning. When you look back at your past, you will see that your hardest moments were the times your soul grew the most. No one grows through ease. The moments you thought would break you were the moments you were reborn. Now pause. Breathe deeply. Think of an adversity you once lived through, something that hurt you deeply. Ask your heart, if that had not happened, would I be who I am today? If the answer is no, you understand that darkness was grace in disguise. When you can thank even the things that once hurt you, you touch the highest level of the soul. You no longer live in fear, but in freedom. And one day when someone asks, how did you get through it? You will smile and say, I did not get through. I transformed. Before ending this chapter, let me ask you with honesty. The most painful thing you have ever experienced, can you see the gift hidden inside it? If you feel that truth, write one sentence in the comments. I am learning to turn darkness into light. The moment you speak it, the universe knows you are ready to stop running from the night and walk into it with a torch in your hand. That is the moment you become light for yourself and for the world. Part 14, the law of surrender. When you stop holding on, miracles begin. There is a paradox few people are willing to accept. Everything you want only arrives when you stop trying to grip it. Life is a river, and we, afraid of loss and afraid of not enough, keep tightening our hands around what is already old. The tighter we hold, the faster the water slips away. But when you open your palm, the water rests and you realize it was never gone. Surrender is not defeat. Surrender is the act of one who trusts, one who knows there is an invisible order working perfectly, even when the eyes cannot see it. When you surrender, you do not lose control. You return control to the one who knows more than you, to the vast intelligence guiding every atom of the universe. Why do we fear surrender? Because we believe control brings safety. But remember how many times you tried to control outcomes and everything became worse, and how many times you let things unfold naturally and the result came easier than expected. Your own experience already reveals the truth. Control creates tension. Surrender creates miracles. A friend named Michael once spent 2 years in crisis after losing his job. He tried everything to control the situation, sending hundreds of applications, begging, worrying, losing sleep. The harder he chased, the further opportunities ran. One night, exhausted, he whispered, I accept. If I must begin again, I will begin. Please guide me. A week later, he received an unexpected offer, a new job in the field he loved with double the income. When I asked how he felt, he smiled. It came the moment I stopped chasing. Surrender does not kill dreams. Surrender frees dreams from fear. When you cling, you tell the universe you do not trust. When you surrender, you say, I trust, I am guided. Only then can energy flow. The scripture says, be still and know that I am God. Stillness here is not outer silence, but the end of inner resistance. It is when you stop fighting reality and stop forcing everything to follow your plan. In that stillness, you hear the voice of the soul whispering, all is well. Surrender is the humility of knowing you do not need all the answers. Some truths are revealed only when you stop running. Just as a lake reflects the sky, only when it stops trembling. Your heart receives guidance only when it stops fearing. What is meant for you will return to you, but not in the way you expect. Sometimes the universe does not give you what you want, but what you need. A relationship ending, a door closing, an opportunity disappearing are all forms of rearrangement. When you stop blaming and accept, you see you lost nothing. You are being cleared to receive something greater. The most beautiful image of surrender is a kite. It rises not by fighting the wind, but by aligning with it. If it pulls stubbornly against the wind, the string snaps. If you try to control everything, the string of trust breaks and you fall. Surrender is not letting go of the string. It is relaxing into the wind, trusting it knows the highest direction for you. Surrender also means accepting the present as it is, not demanding it to be different, not saying if only, not saying it should have been, simply saying this is what is happening and I am ready to learn from it. In that moment, you shift from victim to creator. Now try something simple. Think of something you are trying to control, a person, a relationship, or an outcome. Place your hand on your heart, breathe deeply, and say softly, I surrender. I trust that everything is unfolding for my highest good. Feel the breath move through you, bringing relief, Surrender is not loss. It is returning to the natural flow of life. When you truly surrender, you witness something miraculous. What you once chased begins to come to you. Not loudly, not quickly, but in perfect timing when you are peaceful enough to receive it. Let me ask you gently, what in your life are you controlling so tightly that you have forgotten it longs for freedom just like you? If you are ready to soften and let the miracle begin, write in the comments, I surrender. These three simple words, when spoken with your heart, can open a new chapter in your life, a chapter of freedom, trust, and peace. And when you learn to surrender, you discover that what you thought was loss was actually your return home. Part 15. Becoming the creator, living as an awakened soul in everyday life. There is a truth most people have forgotten. You did not come here to live a normal life. You came to create. Not only to create art, music, or projects, but to create your reality itself. Every emotion, every relationship, every step you take. Your soul is not a spectator. It is the writer, the director, and the actor all at once. When you live as a creator, you step out of the role of a victim of circumstances. You no longer ask what is happening to me, but what am I creating this for? What is the lesson here? From that moment, your power returns. Life no longer drags you. You begin to guide the flow. Each morning when your eyes open, reality waits for you to paint it. Your mind is the brush, your emotions are the colors, and your actions are the lines. The thoughts you repeat shape the painting you call your life. The outer world is only a mirror reflecting your inner content. If you want the picture to change, do not repaint the mirror, change the palette within. A creator does not look for happiness, they create happiness. They do not wait for peace, they radiate peace. They do not beg for love, they become love. Every thought, emotion, and action is creative energy. When you think with faith, speak with love, and act with truth, you are writing a masterpiece of vibration. Some believe awakening means leaving the world, going to a forest or a mountain. But true awakening is bringing light into the smallest moments of daily life. Washing dishes in silence, driving without rushing, smiling at a stranger, listening instead of arguing. In these moments, you are not someone living life. You are life observing itself. There was a man named Andrew, a plumber. He said that whenever he bent beneath a sink, he treated it as meditation. I am not working, he said. I am participating in the music of the universe. Water flows, metal sings, and I know I am in the right place. An ordinary worker, but his energy made customers feel calm and lighter. This is the power of the awakened creator, turning work into a sacred act. Living as a creative soul does not mean you never meet challenges. The difference is that challenges no longer define you. When difficulty comes, you ask, what can I create from this? When someone hurts you, you ask, what energy can I respond with that does not multiply the pain? Every situation becomes a canvas, and you choose the color. The universe never ignores anyone. It only waits for you to recognize your role. When you remember you are the creator, you stop living by reaction and begin living by choice. And choice is the strongest prayer. Look at your hands. They were not only made to work, but to bless. When you cook, write, or touch someone, you transmit creative energy. When you smile, you shift the energy around you. No action is small when done with awareness. Now try a simple exercise. Think of an area where you feel stuck, work, relationships, or health. Ask yourself, if I am truly the creator, how would I rewrite this story? Imagine the new version, where you have released fear, where you love, where you trust. Then take one small action that reflects that vision. A thank you, a phone call, a new step. Creation is not born from grand gestures, but from every moment you choose light over shadow. The awakened creator knows that the universe responds not to weak wishes, but to the frequency of co-creation. You cannot say, I want change, while keeping the vibration of a victim. You must become the frequency of what you want to see. Then life mirrors back the image you have embodied. Remember, you do not need to learn to create. You have always been a creator. You only need to remember. Every good idea, every sudden clarity, every moment of insight comes from that deep layer of the soul where you and the source are one. When you are quiet, that river flows naturally. In time, you will see that the things that once frightened you or broke you were only material. The darker tones needed to make the bright ones stand out in the great painting of your life. Before ending this chapter, ask yourself, if my life is a canvas, what colors am I painting with today? If you feel the creative power inside you, write one short line, I am the creator. The moment you write it, you send a clear signal to the universe. I remember who I am. And the universe smiles and rearranges everything so you can live as what you truly are, an awakened soul creating each moment with love. Part 16, Rebirth in Awareness, the beginning of the new human. There comes a moment in the journey of every soul when the final veil falls. No more searching, no more asking when, how, or why. Only silence. And in that silence you realize you never needed to become anyone else because you have always been everything. This is the moment of rebirth in awareness, not a rebirth of the body, but the awakening of the soul from the long dream of fear and separation. Through all the previous chapters, you learned to see the world with the eyes of a creator. You discovered the power of thought, of words, of emotion, and of the grateful heart. But all of these were only preparations for the deepest truth, the unity with your true being. You are no longer someone trying to live better. You become life becoming aware of itself. All boundaries melt away. No more me and the world. No more this person and that person. No more good and evil. You see everything as one single dance where every role, even pain, loss, and disappointment, serves a sacred purpose, awakening love within you. Rebirth in awareness does not happen in a grand ceremony. It may happen on a simple morning when you see sunlight touching your coffee cup and realize you are here, and that is enough. It may happen in the middle of an emotional storm when you stop resisting and whisper, I accept. In that moment, an old part of you dissolves, the part that demanded, feared, and searched. And the true part, peaceful, clear, eternal, is born. When you are reborn in awareness, you live with a freedom no one can take away. You no longer need to control others to feel safe or prove your worth to feel enough. You are consciousness experiencing itself, limitless and whole in every breath. But the miracle is that you do not escape the world. You return to it, but with new eyes. You still work, love, cook, listen, and walk, but everything is infused with presence. You no longer live your life. You become life flowing through you. Rebirth does not mean you will never feel sad or afraid. It means you no longer identify with sadness or fear. When they come, you smile, observe, and say, these are clouds passing across my sky. And the sky, which is you, has never been touched. Someone once asked me how to know if they are awakened. I said, when you stop asking that question, the one who asks is the part still asleep. When you realize your boundless nature, you no longer need to prove it. You simply live like a flower that blooms because it cannot not bloom. From here, you begin to live with the energy of presence, without forcing, without pushing, without resisting. You become like still water, reflecting everything without clinging to anything. When someone is angry, you do not get pulled in. You see a soul learning to love just as you once learned. When the world is chaotic, you do not run or judge. You become the still point in the storm from which others find peace. And then you see a deeper truth. You were not born to search for light. You are the light. You do not need to find God, because this breath is His presence. There is nowhere to go, nothing to achieve, no one to become. There is only remembering. I remember once, while teaching at a meditation center, a student asked me after awakening, what should I do? I said, go wash the dishes. He looked confused. I added, but this time know that the entire universe is washing dishes through you. He fell silent and then smiled. In that smile, I saw that rebirth had already happened. This is what true awakening brings, utter simplicity. No floating in the clouds, no dramatic enlightenment, only being fully present in this moment, and that alone merges you with the infinite. So if you are hearing these words today, know that you are no longer someone searching for light. You have stepped through the doorway. You are home. From this moment, your life is no longer a series of challenges to overcome, but a play of awareness where you are free to create love and experience every shade of existence in wakefulness. Now, let me ask you one final question. If you knew you were an infinite soul that cannot be lost and cannot be harmed, how would you live from today onward? Pause, breathe, and let the question touch your heart. Then, when you are ready, write one line. I am awakened. Not to prove anything, but to affirm to your own soul that the journey home is complete. From this moment, you are no longer the seeker. You are the one who remembers. You are the light among the world, and you are the living miracle.